Good morning, grade 5 learners! Welcome to another edition of Valenzuela Epilogue in Science 5.
It's science, science time. It's science, science time. Let's all be ready now. It's science, science time. What do we do during science time? We observe, we compare, identify, classify, infer, test, hypothesize. We read a lot, understand them well. Science facts we tell.
secretes a hormone that it stimulates the egg cells in the ovaries to grow. One of these egg cells begin to mature in a sac-like structure called the follicle. It takes 13 days for the egg cells to reach its maturity. While the egg matures, its follicles secretes a hormone that stimulates the uterus to develop a lining of blood vessels and soft tissues called the endometrium. Let's proceed to the third phase, which is the ovulation phase. Day 14. On the 14th day of the cycle, the pituitary gland secretes a hormone that causes the ovary to release a mature egg cell. The released egg cell is swept into the fallopian tube by the cilia of the fimbriae. Fimbriae are finger-like projections located at the end of the fallopian tube, close to the ovaries, and cilia are slender hair-like projections on each fimbria. Let's proceed now to the last phase. The last phase of the menstrual cycle is a luteal phase. It actually occurs in day 15 to 28 of the menstrual cycle. This phase begins on the 15th day and lasts until the end of the cycle. The following events occur during this phase. The egg cells released during the ovulation stays in the fallopian tube for 24 hours. If a sperm cell does not impregnate the egg cell within that time, the egg cell disintegrates. The hormone that causes the uterus to retain its endometrium gets used up by the end of the menstrual cycle. This causes the menstrual phase of the next cycle to begin. So, this is the cycle of our menstruation for the girls. Days 1 to 7, the condition of the uterus. We may experience or we may observe the breakdown of uterine lining. And what usually occurs during these times? Menstruation occurs. How about days 8 to 10? The uterine lining begins to thicken. What usually occurs during these times? An egg cell matures in the ovary. Days 11 to 15, the uterine lining is thicker. And what usually occurs? Ovulation occurs. Days 16 to 25, uterine lining thickens again. What usually occurs? Eggs moves to the uterus. And lastly, how about days 26 to 28? Uterine lining detaches and menstruation occurs. Each month, the ovary releases one mature egg. This happens 14 days after ovulation. The egg cell then moves up to the fallopian tube until it reaches the uterus, which usually takes 5 days. During this time, the endometrium thickens in preparation for the coming of the fertilized egg. If no fertilization occurs, the lining breaks, which results to a bloody discharge called the menstrual flow. There is no expected pregnancy. On the average, it takes about 28 days to complete one menstrual cycle. Remember, 28 days. In others, it may range from 22 to 36 days. Menstruation. What is menstruation? Menstruation is a part of a menstrual cycle. This is a process that prepares a woman for pregnancy that takes place every 28 days on the average. During menstruation, some eggs begin to mature in the ovaries. As the eggs develop, the surrounding cells release the estrogen hormone in the bloodstream. As the estrogen level increases, menstrual bleeding stops and the lining of the uterus thickens in the preparation for receiving a fertilized egg. The increase in estrogen also causes the pituitary gland to release a hormone that travels to the ovaries and causes the most mature eggs to be released. The release of the egg from the ovary is called the ovulation. It occurs about 14 days before the next menstrual period. The eggs travel to the uterus through the fallopian tube. After ovulation, the ovary that has just released eggs produces another hormone called progesterone. This hormone signals the uterus to thicken. And the correct answer is the menstrual phase. How about number 3? The egg cells released during the ovulation phase stays in the fallopian tube for 24 hours. What phase in the menstrual cycle is being cited? The correct answer is the luteal phase. Lastly, the pituitary gland secretes a hormone that stimulates the egg cells in the ovaries to grow. What phase in the menstrual cycle is being cited? The correct answer is follicular phase. Now, let's proceed to the most awaited part of our discussion, wherein we will determine if you truly understand today's lesson. It's time for our science challenge. Directions. Choose the letter of the correct answer. Are you ready? Okay, number 1. When does menstruation happen? Letter A, when the egg is not fertilized. Letter B, when the egg meets the sperm. Letter C, when the egg reaches the uterus. Or letter D, when the egg is released from the ovary. What is the correct answer? Let's see if your answers are correct. The correct answer is letter A. How about number 2? About how many days are needed to complete a menstrual cycle? Letter A, 3 days. Letter B, 7 days. Letter C, 28 days. Or letter D, 38 days. What is the correct answer? The correct answer is 28 days. How about number 3? What Letter B, when she becomes 20 years old. Letter C, when she starts menstruating. Or letter D, when she reaches adulthood. What is the correct answer? The correct answer is when she starts menstruating. Now, I will give you 1 minute to type in your questions in our comment section below. Okay, time's up. I have received a lot of questions, but I have selected a few one because we're running out of time. The first question is from Janessa Gia B. Ablasa. And her question is, what do irregular period means? Many women and girls suffer from irregular bleedings during their monthly menstrual cycle. Your period is irregular if it comes more frequently than 21 days, or you go 35 days or more between your period. The cycle length varies greatly. Sometimes irregular periods can be caused by some medicines, exercising too much, too low, or too high body weight. Hormonal imbalances can also cause irregular periods. Example is thyroid hormone level abnormalities. The next question came from Leslie Dabas, and the question is, how long is the average period length of menstruation? Your period can last between 3 and 8 days, but it will usually last for about 5 days. The bleeding tends to be the heaviest in the first 2 days. When your period is at its heaviest, the blood will be red. On the latter days, it may be pink, brown, or even black. Now, for the recapitulation of our topic today, let us again cite the concepts we have learned. Menarche is the first menstrual flow. Menstrual cycle is a monthly shedding of the uterine tissues. Each month, the ovary releases one mature egg, and this happens 14 days after the ovulation. The egg cells then moves up to the fallopian tube until it reaches the uterus, which usually takes place in 5 days. On the average, it takes about 28 days to complete one menstrual cycle. In others, it may range from 22 to 36 days. So, that's all for today, kids. Once again, this is Teacher Blessy, your virtual teacher for Science 5, saying thank you, kids, for watching. Keep safe and stay at home. Bye!